Hello. Good afternoon. Tanisha Dawson of Evolve Universities, and this is Love Therapies. And today, I wanted to have a conversation about conflict in relationships and how to handle it. It was something on my heart to do. I know that in a lot of marriages and a lot of relationships, especially long term relationships, the problem that arises and the reason why people feel like they're no longer compatible, the reason why people feel like they don't want to be together anymore, the reason why people feel like, oh, this is not going to work, 9 times out of 10, it's usually because they handle conflict. Um, I don't want to use the word wrong, but there's a better way for them to handle conflict that arises in their relationship. And a lot of people were not really taught in general how to handle conflict as individuals, like in life. Like we weren't taught that. Nobody grew up in the home and parents were like, well, not nobody, some people did, but grew up in the home and was like, hey, this is how you specifically handle conflict. These are the rules, these are the things that should happen. And because of that, we all entered into these relationships with this fairy tale mentality that because we love each other and because we're compatible, we're always going to get along. And even if we don't get along, it's okay because we love each other so much that, our relationship will never come to a demise. Wrong, okay? Conflict, and especially unresolved conflict, is 90% of the reason for why relationships deteriorate. I'm going to tell you why. Because of the fact that a lot of us don't know how to deal with conflict or handle conflict as it arises, we have different styles in how we handle conflict. So, because of that, we end up thinking that because the argument is over today, that the person that was affected by the argument has gotten over it. Mm-mm. 9 times out of 10, no matter what the argument was about, no matter what the conflict was about, people who are not able to get their point across, people who don't feel like you understood what they meant or what they said when they said it, they're 90% of the time going to walk away with a level of resentment. And what happens with resentment is it is like building an apartment. I don't have props right now. I'm looking around. Y'all see me because I'm a teacher. I use props. Is it builds up resentment brick by brick, right? And at first it's small. It's very small, right? So you look down. It's a brick on the ground. Hey, that's fine. I could step right over this. And that's what happens in conflict. We're like, oh, this was nothing. We can step right over this. Everything is okay. So we step over our brick. That's fine. But hey, after some time, after some years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years in, these bricks, y'all, are starting to pile up. Now, next thing you know, you guys are trying to look over the bricks to see each other. You guys are jumping like, hey, I'm over here. Hey, look at me. Next thing you know, you're trying to look over the bricks, look behind the bricks. After a while, the bricks get so high and so wide that you guys don't see each other anymore and you don't connect anymore. There is a huge wall in between the two of you guys that feels almost impossible to break through. But I'm here to tell you that there's hope, okay? There is hope for breaking through conflict, okay? It's the reason I want to do this video because I actually had something else I wanted to talk about. Y'all know I wanted to talk about Tia, okay? But we'll get to that, and I'll have a thumbnail up next week. Me and my girls are going to do a podcast on that. Of course, I'm going to do one in the car of some sorts, but we're going to get to the nitty gritty of that one. But I was thinking about this one because it was heavy on my heart for a lot of people that are in long-term relationships that feel like there's no hope or feel like I want to let go or I want to move on. And usually it's something like this that allows you to not want to move on, not being able to deal with conflict, okay? So there's going to be times of conflict or times where you as a couple just don't see eye to eye, all right? I want to shed both lights though for both sides. I want to shed light for men and women. Um, just because this issue relates to men and women, and I pride myself on being like unbiased. I pride myself on being able to see both sides. I pride myself on not just being like woman power, yay, or like, ooh, men are always right. Nah, there's always some form of balance that can happen in between, So I don't like taking one side or another. When it comes to topics like this, you guys know it is not a one size fits all topic. Obviously, there are going to be things that work for others and things that don't. That's where professional therapy or life coaching or relationship coaching, marital coaching will come into place. But for the most part, the advice that I'm going to shed light on today is going to work universally for probably 80% of the whole, okay? So I want to start with women because y'all know men don't take it lightly when we start with them first, right? So as a woman, I've already explained that most of men's issues with us is that a lot of us lack the skill to hold ourselves accountable for our actions. Y'all know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right. It's starting to get old. I'm seeing it all over social media. I'm seeing it with the celebrities. We just lack the capacity at a very strong, in a very strong way to hold ourselves accountable for the things that we do. So, as I've explained earlier or before that, somebody's calling me, accountability is actually a masculine trait. So, it doesn't really come truly naturally to us. It's something that we have to cultivate, something that we have to work toward. Being able to hold yourself to the fire, whether something was your fault or not, that is an extreme leadership skill, which I've already said that we as women, we come second as it relates to leadership just based on the way that we lead. It's not that we don't know how to lead, it's just that we lead in a certain way, and that certain way doesn't yield the best results. So, yes, women are able to lead things because I know somebody saying, well, I lead my business now and I know, I get it. Yeah, we can do it. I'm not saying we can't. Okay, but what I'm just saying is it's based on the way that we lead. We lead in a different way, which sometimes doesn't always yield us the best results, right? But go check out the video that I posted about why women should not lead. You'll get more insight in that one. What happens with women for the lack of accountability is that we are inherently responders by nature. So we are the responsive creature. The men are the heads and the leaders by nature, and we're the reactors, the responders by nature. So it's hard for us to take accountability because in our mind, we're always thinking about why we did something. We're always worried about the reason why. Most women don't initiate an action and behavior. We respond and we react to behavior, even if that behavior is not outright, like you can't see it up front, but somebody can do something and we'll respond based on what we're feeling in our minds and in our hearts. It's just a thing. We as women know what it is. We do it all the time, okay? So a lot of times we'll just kind of be like, well, we won't respond like, you know what, I take full responsibility for that. I take full responsibility for my actions. That was not okay. We'll normally say, well, I only did that because such and such and such and such and such. We'll always give the reason why we did it, as opposed to just acknowledging that we were wrong for doing it. Those are two inherently different things. Acknowledging you did something and then saying, but I only did it because, or saying you did something and then apologizing for the fact that you were wrong that you did it, not the same. But for whatever reason, we think the two are the same. The reason why is because it's a backhanded way of taking accountability, right? You're admitting that you did something and you're admitting that you did something wrong, but you're also in that same breath excusing why you did it, which is not true accountability at all. And that's where we mess up. We think when we say why we did it, that gives them a reason to give us a pass on it, a reason to understand it, a reason to say, oh, it's okay, babe. But that's not how it works. This only causes frustration and anger inside of the man that you're with. It will only cause him to become more frustrated, um, more disappointed. And the fact really kind of remains is that I'm turning this off, guys. I'm sorry. Um, yeah, we got to turn this TV off. We will actually start to cause the bricks of resentment to build up in him. Now, depending on the kind of man you have, you might have a man that holds you to the fire and he interrogates and picks until you cop to it. Or you might have the guy that just gets quiet and kind of low key lets you get away with it, but you never really got away with it. All right. So here's the thing, this lessens his trust in you, as a woman, as a wife, as his partner. Because if you had a reason, right? If you had or have a reason for why you did something, then how will they know you won't do that same thing again for another reason? And that causes them to lose trust. Like, if I'm telling you about this behavior and you're saying, well, I only did it because, my whole thing is, I don't want you to do it no more. And this is why. So if you keep saying you only did it because of something, then that means because of the next thing, you may just do this behavior again. And I can't bank on that. I can't take that to the bank. I can't cash this check faithfully knowing that you hinge your payment on, well, I only did it because. It's never going to work for them. They don't necessarily care why you did something. The bottom line is they just want a shift in behavior. They just don't want you to do it again, whatever that personal thing is. Okay, so this usually causes more conflict. They're going to hammer down. They're not going to let up until you finally break and crack and acknowledge what you've done, or they'll let you continue to get away with not holding yourself accountable, but not without a certain level of resentment. You see how it doesn't work out either way for either one of us? It's like a lose-lose situation. So the lack of accountability is a big one for them ladies, because it's of extreme importance to them that we understand what we have done. When a man talks to you about something, see, here's the thing. Men are not really nitpickers like women are. So when a man finally says something to you, right, about something, they want you to understand what you've done. And the possible detriment is either presently or futuristically if this behavior continues to happen. So when they say it, it behooves you to just listen, because whatever they're telling you, they're usually telling you because there's going to be some ramifications for it futuristically, and they have to make sure that this behavior is honed down before y'all can move forward. Okay. All right. So this is basically what they need in a nutshell. You do this and you'll find that most conflict between you and a man will not last long. Sidebar. Unless you are dealing with a narcissist or a person with mental health issues. This whole thing doesn't even apply to you, because who they are, what they do, how they treat you is not the same as a normal person. So if you are dealing with somebody that struggles with some mental health stuff, or they have narcissistic tendencies, or they just outright have narcissistic borderline personality disorder, it doesn't matter what you do, it's never going to be okay. All right. All right. So back to us women. This is generic resolution techniques. All right. And then we'll deal with the men. So I'm going to give us some generic resolution techniques that help us get through conflict. Okay. So another thing that men are over as it relates to us is us crying in the middle of an argument. All right. This is the fact. Anger is usually a man's response to feeling disrespected. So when a man feels disrespected, the first emotion you're usually going to see is anger from him. You're not going to see tears. You're not going to see, despondence, or him get sullen and just, feel sad. You are usually going to get the response of anger. That is usually the first tip of the iceberg that you're going to see. But crying is usually a woman's response to feeling unloved in a moment. So men instinctually know this, and this is why tears have moved them so much in the past. Normally, as women, right, if we were in an argument and we cried, it literally was because in that moment we were feeling extremely unloved. That's usually what it is. No different than when you yell at your kid, or you're upset with your kid, you're disappointed in your kid, and they will cry. I used to do that with my dad all the time. My dad would sit me at the table and be like, I'm super disappointed in you because you did A, B, C, and D at school. You were supposed to do, and literally tears would just be coming down my face. Not necessarily because I was sad, but just because I was kind of disappointed in myself for letting him down. And I also just felt like, oh my God, my dad's not proud of me. He's not feeling me right now. This is crazy. Girls like boys to be feeling them. Girls like boys to be loving them, to be liking them. And it's no different with daughters and dads. So I would literally sit there and cry. Most women, especially back in the day, would cry. They would feel like, I didn't mean to disappoint you. I'm just not feeling love. Like I'm just feeling down. Like I don't know how I'm feeling, but it usually prompted tears, right? But however, nowadays with this masculine Mandy movement and this city girl culture, they've been manipulated by our tears so much and in so many different situations that they have minimal effect on them now, ladies. Like it sucks because, I've been married to my husband for a very long time, but he has dealt with some extreme terrorists in the past as it has related to his relationships. And sometimes I have to pay the price for that because although I'm nothing like them and I don't have the same spirit, it doesn't matter because if the action looks the same, it it he can't translate. So if he had a woman that cried at the drop of a dime to get herself out of an argument or say, well, let's just move on, nothing really happened. If I say that, it's gonna look and feel the same to him, and I don't mean it that way. So, ladies, we have done a horrible job out here for ourselves, made a hard bed collectively. Now we all got to sleep in it. Thanks, ladies. Clap it up. Standing ovation. Because now the things that used to soften them for us, the things that used to cause them to have empathy and compassion, no longer work because they've been manipulated, tricked, and we were been so cunning for so long that now none of this stuff moves them. It really doesn't. They almost deem it fake at this point. At this point, if a woman starts to cry in front of a man, the first thing he'd be like is crocodile tears. Yeah, all right, well, what? You could dry those up now because they're not doing anything. So, can we finish the conversation, please? Where before, at least the tears would prompt an emotion. It might prompt a hug. It might prompt him to be like, listen, I still love you, but I'm angry, but I still love you. Now it prompts nothing except for more harshness. Thanks, y'all. You did a good job for all of us. Thank you so much. We appreciate this. So at this point, our tears have become disdainable to them. Ilk. They don't like them. And they loathe seeing them based on our fellow four sisters, the ones that came before us. Okay? So if you're going to cry and they actually feel bad, your tears have to be solely in remorse for what you've done and not a response to the repercussion of what you've done, if that makes sense. So if you are crying, it has to just be solely because you feel so terrible about the fact that you've hurt him, or the fact that you've disrespected him, or the fact that you've disappointed him, not for the repercussion, which could be, hey, this is how I'm talking to you. This is now how I'm treating the situation. Normally we'll cry because of that more so than we cry because of the fact that we've let them down. Okay? And trust me, here's the thing. They know the difference. They know when you're crying because they're like, listen, at this point now, until this gets fixed, this is what I'm on. Or at this point now, until you start to learn to take accountability, this is how I got to move. Now we're crying, but really we're crying because we can't control the situation anymore. We can't control the narrative, not because we've disappointed them or done something against, what they would deem acceptable. All right? They know the difference. Your tears cannot be because they're upset with you, because they've raised their voice. The tears have to only be because you feel bad, okay? Got it? So understand that toxicity in arguments comes from not staying on task, not staying on topic, and bringing up old stuff in arguments, things that supposedly were already worked out. We as women are so good at that, but I'll get more into it later as I give out the resolution tips. But ladies, we have to stop bringing up old stuff in the middle of a new argument, all right? Now, as far as men, the issue that women have as it relates to conflict with a man, normally a woman's biggest issue is being yelled at, okay? What men don't realize is that they are physically superior to us in most cases. They're bigger, stronger, deeper voices, deeper vibrato, a lower vibration, and just deeper in general. They're just big. And we are usually smaller in stature, even in energy, right? So a man that gets in your face, yells, and exhibits other threatening mannerisms, immediately the woman feels unsafe. That's how it feels. If a big man is yelling in your face, it doesn't matter what the woman has done wrong. If a man is yelling in your face, that is threatening to a woman. I need men to hear this because for whatever reason, they feel like when we yell at them, we're supposed to be able to just take it. At this point in time, where I know for me, where I'm at, the moment I start getting yelled at, I shut down. I don't want to talk no more. I don't want to be in the same room. I don't want to be around you until we can have a conversation. Other than that, I'm going to feel threatened. And then from feeling threatened, I'm going to feel like I have to protect myself. And in protecting yourself as a woman, that can look a lot of different ways based on the woman themselves. It could be them raising their voice back. It could be them throwing things. Whatever it is, it ends up showing and rearing its ugly head. Okay. So the woman starts to feel like she needs to protect herself from the very person in her life that's supposed to protect her. Can you see how big of a vulnerable position that is to put a woman in? That you're the person that's supposed to be protecting her, and now she feels afraid of you. She feels threatened by you. It's not okay. It doesn't have a good feeling to it. It doesn't make her feel good inside. And honestly, it closes her off to you. It will make her not want to have sex with you. Oops, sex, whatever. It will make her not want to sleep with you. There'll be no intimacy. She will withdraw from you. And that withdrawal could be physically, emotionally, and or mentally. So it never works out that way. All right. So I need men to stop feeling like it's okay to yell just because you're angry. No, 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 no. We are the smaller, softer being. There's no reason to yell. It's almost like I try my hardest to not have to yell at my son. He's 11. He's little. I'm bigger than him. And my voice doesn't scare him. But I try not to yell at him because he understands conversation now. He's not a child. He's not running into the street after a ball where I might have to yell quickly. No, that's not happening. I get to sit him down and explain to him exactly where I'm coming from. So I do understand that sometimes when a man feels disrespected or he feels like you're not taking accountability, their voice will raise. But if a man is yelling first and foremost before he talks to you, that is a red flag. That is not okay. And he might need some form of coaching, some form of mentorship as it relates to conflict resolution. All right. So the woman in this moment has two options, right? She can raise up against him, escalating the situation even more or extremely, or she can stay quiet and shut, however, inside all the while feeling abused. If a man is yelling in your face and you're just sitting there like quiet and he keeps yelling, this woman is not going to feel okay about herself. She's going to feel like an abused woman because there's no reason for it. There's nothing causing for it. There's nothing calling for the behavior because she's doing nothing to defend herself. She's doing nothing to raise up against you. So that is, in a sense, could be considered abusive. Both options leave her feeling emotionally depleted and unsafe. She'll never feel safe in your presence. She'll never feel safe expressing to you. She'll never feel safe the moment she thinks you're going to get mad. Now it's scary to her. It's all too much. And this is especially true if the woman has not done something to become or seem threatening first. If you come out the gate yelling, if you come out the gate raising your voice and in her face, it's not going to fare out well for the relationship. Trust me. She is going to mentally and emotionally and physically close herself off to you. So being yelled at as a woman only produces two responses: escalation and yelling back, or completely shutting down. Neither is going to be productive or conducive for a conversation to be had moving forward. So the best thing as a man for you to do, if you find yourself getting super angry, angry enough to want to yell in her face or become irate, sometimes all it takes is taking a break from the conversation, y'all. Just take a little break. It's fine. Okay? Table it, come back to it, pin it, whatever you like. Sometimes all it takes is stepping away for you to be able to see, soften up, and gain a different perspective, okay? If you can get a better idea of what's going on without the heightened emotions that are attached to the argument. I promise you, listen, it is okay to table something for another time. The argument's not going nowhere, y'all. And hopefully, y'all are not going nowhere. Hopefully, y'all not divorcing tomorrow because of it. You can always go back to a conversation that seems like it has escalated too far for you to come back from. It is okay to table and say, whoa, whoa, we're getting out of hand. Can we just take a little break from this for a second? That's easier for a woman than a man because sometimes men be like, well, I'm still mad and I don't want you to think we sweet. But listen, if you have a decent woman, it really doesn't work like that. She knows that you guys got to get back to it. She knows that eventually you guys got to have that conversation. But if emotions are high, if things are heightened, it is best to take a step away from the conversation. All right. It gives you time to think, work through your triggers. Most times in conflict, when things go awry or things get crazy, it's usually because one or both parties have been triggered by something in our past, something from this relationship or relationships before. And that's what happens. And if you just take some time away and step back, it's okay. It's okay. My parents used to say something to us all the time in their marriage classes that it is okay to move around and say, hey, let's take a break from this. Let's go get some coffee or something. Let's go get some fresh air. Or let's just go to our separate corners. Let's reflect. And then we'll come back to it. I promise. We'll come back to it. And they would give it a time frame. They would either say 24 hours or they would say a couple hours. And then they could come back calm. 9 times out of 10, I swear it worked like a charm. So let's move to communication in general and what communication actually is. In short, there's a lot of forms of communication, but the most prevalent is verbal, with body language being a close second. So, how you express yourself verbally plays a huge part in how you're perceived. Communication not only boils down to what was said, but how it's said, your voice, your tone of voice, and your inflection. Okay? So sadly, in most cases, it's the lack of effective communication that causes relationship breakdowns. It's not communication because communication is happening, okay? It's just escalated. However, effective communication is why we're in the spaces that we're in. So, communication is a simple form of sharing ideas, thoughts, opinions, and information. That's all it is. But in its most complex form, y'all, it consists of what is said, what is heard, what you meant, what they think you meant, how you spoke, the volume of your voice as you spoke, and the tone of voice that you spoke in. So you see how complicated this can get? It can get to be a lot. However, the core desire behind conflict should be resolution, understanding, and not winning. Okay? Not winning. Winning an argument means you lost. If you walked away from an argument with your spouse or a loved one and you walked away like, yeah, 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 you know, yeah, I won that. Yeah, she ain't never gonna do that again. Or a woman walked away like, yeah, I won that argument. I guarantee you ain't gonna never do that again. Y'all both lost. Good job, dummies. Because a breakup is shortly around your corner. Anytime somebody walks away from an argument feeling inflated and your ego is so inflated, you just lost, and more than likely you're going to end up losing the relationship. The goal after conflict should be a feeling of intimacy, closeness, understanding, and resolution. That's the only feeling you should be feeling after an argument, after you've talked it through. All right? This is where a lot of people lose sight, y'all. We all mess up here. The goal is resolution. The goal is not inflation of your big head and your ego. That's not what it is. Most people get lost in life in a struggle for power. They will be willing to lose the one they love just to be right, just to feel right, just to feel like, yeah, I won that. So you're gonna lose just to win. It doesn't make sense to me. So when entering into conflict, the goal should not actually be the conflict. We shouldn't enter into an argument expecting to argue. Or yeah, wait till I get home and I'm gonna tell him, oh my God, what is wrong with us? We literally will plan an argument in our head and then think our relationships are gonna be successful. Why is that? Oh, wait till I get home and I get on him. I called him 3 times and he didn't even answer me back. Watch when I get home. What's more important than your wife calling? What's more important than your girl calling? All you gotta do is go home and ask a question. Hun, I called you 3 times. Was everything okay? Not riling yourself up, getting yourself mad hyped to go home and start an argument when really it could have been an emergency. Something could have happened. He could have been busy. Who the hell knows? But to rile yourself up to start an argument is kind of weird. But people do it all the time. It happens all the time. All right? It should never be the conflict. It should always be the solution and never intentionally to hurt the other party. If this is a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, if this is a person that you're in a long-term relationship with and you want the relationship to continue, your goal should never be in the argument to hurt them. That is counterproductive and sadistic. It's almost maniacal. Like, what's wrong with you? This is a person you say you love, but you're willing to try to intentionally hurt them in an argument. Weird. All right? Winning and trying to get caught up in winning an argument is going to make the argument take a lot of twists and turns, and you're going to end up in a place that you weren't willing or wanting to go. It just doesn't make sense to me. This is where immature behavior sets in at, right? Belittling. Well, maybe if you worked more, maybe if you brought home more money, name calling with your broke ass, or him, your bald headed ass. What? What? Yeah, that's why you getting big. What? Swearing, becoming physical. This all comes into factor when you allow your emotions to take control of the conversation and you let logic fly out the window. It's only cause for resentment in the future, y'all, and it's never gonna work. So I got y'all some conflict resolution and communication tips, okay? Period. Listen carefully to what's being said. That's number one. If you're taking notes, this is number one. Listen carefully to what is being said. Do not interrupt or assume what they are about to say. Listen to hear and not respond. Now, we all hear this all the time, but we all get caught up in interrupting another person when they're talking because we don't want to forget our thought. Why? Because we're listening to respond. We're not listening to really hear their thought process, to hear their heart, to hear what bothers them or what's hurting them. We're allowing our triggers, our past hurts, and our own resentments to cloud the judgment of hearing exactly what they're trying to say. So listen carefully and let them get the complete thought out before you start to speak so that you can get an idea of exactly where they're coming from. Because a lot of times in arguments, what you're arguing about is not exactly that. It is that with accumulation of a few other things that led to that. So you have to listen carefully, okay? Allow somebody to get their point across fully without responding or excusing it. This is the quickest way to provoke somebody to wrath. Well, I only did that because, well, no, because if you didn't, then I wouldn't have. Oh my God, you will provoke the argument, escalate the argument so fast. Even as a man, well, I wouldn't have been over there if you had been doing. No, 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 no. It don't work like that. We don't get to. Well, actually, you can do whatever you want to do, but the relationship probably won't last. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. If the relationship is worth its weight in salt to you, then don't do it. If it ain't, then by all means, carry on, okay? If a person doesn't feel like you've heard them, they will begin to possibly raise their voice or take more drastic measures to simply get you to hear them. A lot of time, voices raise because people do not feel heard. They don't feel listened to. They don't feel validated. And they don't feel like they've had your undivided attention. So people's voices raise because they don't feel heard. It is a mental and emotional, spiritual, metaphysical thing that your voice is raised when emotionally you're not feeling heard, okay? So when communicating, try not to raise your voice and definitely don't resort to sarcasm. Never going to be good. It only creates tension and it escalates an already possible volatile situation. Sarcasm, like, for what? There's no reason for it. And there's a lot of people that are sarcastic by nature, even in jest, even in joking. But even if you're sarcastic by nature, most times it is not the best idea to put it forth during conflict, okay? Offer respect for the other party as often as possible and allow someone to finish their sentences and repeat what's being said to ensure that you processed it correctly. And when speaking, try not to use a condescending tone because this is the part. People don't realize it's their tone and what's being said. You're saying other things in those things, but people will be like, well, I didn't say that. But you didn't have to say it. This language, that language, because again, communication is physical, body language, verbal language, what's said, how it's said, and the tone of voice and how you say it. So, talking to someone, oh, you didn't know that? Why wouldn't you know it? Because I just didn't know. Like, don't try to make a person feel stupid in an argument and then expect the argument to go well or expect them to not get defensive. It does. I don't understand why people don't understand these things, but it happens because it even happens to me. The moment that I feel like somebody's trying to make me feel stupid, I am so triggered. So triggered. Like I could probably deal with anything else. But when somebody tries to make me feel stupid, ooh, my eyes will probably light up with fire. Just because. And I don't even know. Honestly, I've tried to dive into where that trigger comes from. I still haven't found it yet. I think I'm getting close though. I think I'm getting close. When somebody says something, they're talking to you, be like, so what I hear you saying is that when I did this, this is how you felt, and this is why you did A, B, and C, and D, and then they could go, yeah, exactly, or they could say, no, 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 you took that wrong. What I meant to say was, or the words I meant to use was this. But what happens in communication is you say something, I take it a certain way. It's not even what you meant. Now I say something back. Oh my God, that's when now we're in a cluster F of a bunch of nothing and we can't really get back to the point at hand. Okay? The next one, aim to resolve and not win. When you try to win, you lose sight. And the task is resolution. That's what we're trying to get to, resolution. You should want to get to the bottom of the problem, y'all, and the root of the issue, not the actual fight. Okay? Oh, this one's important. Stay on topic. Mm-mm-mm. When in an argument, it is so common and easy because of the heightened emotions and how you're feeling and what's going on to bring up issues that are off the subject or that can support your case, so to speak. We'll bring up things that are like supporting evidence, supporting documents. They're not from now, they're from way back then, but we want to bring them out in court and be like, well, here's the thing, this. You got to stay on topic. Stay on task, all right? Um, it's just easier to deal with one issue at a time than to compound an issue. That makes everything more complex, all right? So deal with the exact issue at hand so that you could come to a resolution quicker. Now, there might be a conundrum of issues. There might be a whole slew, a laundry bag full of issues, but the only way to combat them is to deal with one issue at a time, okay? Another one is speak calmly. You know, once again, the easiest and most surefire way to escalate a situation is to raise your voice, women and men alike. So I know men can't stand when women yell at them. They deem it super disrespectful, but women deem it super abusing when you yell at us. So either way, neither party likes it. So we need to just commit to respecting each party's wishes. Nobody likes to be yelled at. We're all grown. We're all adults. Children don't even like being yelled at. And it still happens, and there's nothing that we can do about it, and nothing that they can do about it. But at this point in my life, I'm starting to realize that that's not okay. Like, they have feelings, emotions, and thoughts too. And when you just yell at them and they can't say nothing back, otherwise they're going to get a beating, that's abusive. They should be able to say something back. Now, they need to be able to say it respectfully, but to just say like they don't have thoughts, feelings, emotions, and they just gotta take it and then just go lay down and cry or punch their pillow. I mean, we all know what it's like to get sent to your room. You gotta punch your pillow, and a lot of people, we're glorifying how our parents raised us, as though it worked that good. We out here wilding too. So again, there's a lot of different methods, and you really gotta go with the personality types of people. Some people could take that and it'll roll off their back, and the next minute they doing something bad again. Other people, it will rip them to their core and it will change who they are as a whole human being. You got to know who you're dealing with. Okay? One, this one is good. Take the high road. Okay? No matter what the other party does, says, or how low they stoop, don't retaliate. Keep your calm and your cool. Then realize if the relationship is something you want to continue to embark on, considering that you're working on how you communicate versus them not working on it. That's the only way and the biggest way to see the emotional growth of one party versus the other. So if you're in a relationship and you're constantly the one working on how you're dealing with them, working on how you're talking to them, working on how you're approaching them, working on your respect level, working on, trying to resolve it and solution oriented, and they just don't care because they're like, yeah, well, when we arguing, it is what it is. And I'm going to say, then this might not be a relationship that you want to continue being in. Considering you're the one doing so much work and they're not. You're not aligned spiritually, mentally, or emotionally. So continuing to move forward might just not be the best idea for you. All right? Anger is a foolproof way to gouge the internal growth of an individual, whether male or female. All right? So if you're constantly angry, and how a person acts while they're angry gauges the internal growth of an individual, regardless of who it is. This is universal. When you're mad, how you act is who you are. So if you're angry and all rationale goes out the window, you're angry and you get to name calling and cussing and swearing and carrying on, that's who you really are. Everything else, I don't believe it. It's a facade. If you have trouble communicating about serious issues as a couple, that's usually because there's a struggle for power. And you all might not see eye to eye, or so you might need a mediator, therapist, life coach. So when you speak, another person can help you articulate your words and actually help the other person understand what you're trying to say. And then when that person speaks, they say, whoa, wait, this is what they're saying. Somebody that can be in the middle and say, well, you guys are raising your voice. Let one person speak at a time. Sometimes people literally need that because they just can't stop themselves. They've gotten so used to a regime and a habit of this is how they communicate. They might need to do something for at least 30 days to stop them from communicating that way. All right? It can help you both hear each other out. All right? But at some point, you are going to need to be able to handle your conflict and come up with a resolution without the intervention of somebody else, okay? Because the bottom line is this: therapists, life coach, marital coaches, relationship coaches, they give you tools. That's all they do, is they'll give you a tool. It is your job to use the tool, though. It's your job to say, okay, this is what I need. This is the tool. I'm going to use this right now, okay? This right here is the tool. I'm going to use this right now, okay? This is the tool. I have to use this now. It is up to you to know what tool to pull out the box at what time. They can give you the tools. Hey, you guys need to learn to speak respectfully. You need to learn to do this with one another. You need to learn to let the other one talk. But you have to notice within yourself. That is self-governing. Noticing when you're operating outside of that. There are times that I'll check myself, and my husband probably doesn't even know this, but there'll be times that we'll be arguing or something happens, because the weird thing about us, right, is we hardly ever argue. It's weird. We don't have arguments. We don't have little spats. We don't have little tiffs. We don't really have those things. But if we do get into an argument, it's serious. And it's usually something that's big and detrimental. But the day-to-day spats that most couples and women and men have, we don't really have those. So there are some times where it's big and I'm like, I don't know why he yelling it. I don't know why he taking it this far. Or and then sometimes I'll go, I can feel myself going, let me take a deep breath because this is what I'm feeling. And this is what I actually want to do. But I'm actually going to do the opposite. And it doesn't happen all the time. But I have to say the last few times it has because I'm just not, I'm in a space now. I'm too old. I don't feel like arguing. I want to move forward. Let's go. Like, okay, what is that? That's the issue. Okay, let's fix it. Let's get it. Let's do it. Let's get the solution. Let's get to the bottom of it. If it was me, I apologize. I didn't mean it or I didn't realize it. But here's the thing, a lot of people have different styles of arguing. Some people have an interrogation style of arguing and they want to bombard you, hit you, hit you, hit you. No, 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 because this, because that, because this, because that, because this, and then because of that, this. Like, whoa, I don't even know what you're saying now. You're moving faster than my brain is working. And now it's going to seem like I'm not acknowledging it because I don't understand. I don't even know what you're talking about. Then you have the person that doesn't have the interrogation style at all. They have the withdrawing style. So you'll say something to them and they'll just get quiet. And you're like, but you don't understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But did you get it? Yeah. Mm. Or they not looking there. You talking and they disrespectful. Just withdrawn. I'm not listening. I'm letting you know I'm not listening. But then you have the person that completely shuts down because they can't really articulate their thoughts when they're mad or emotional or sad. And then you have the person that's irate that thinks anger solves everything. So you got to understand your style of how you deal with conflict, but then you also have to understand their style and how they deal with conflict and vice versa. Both parties should know themselves, know the style that they have, know the tendencies that they have, be willing to work on those tendencies that they have, and understanding the tendencies of the other so that they don't trigger something in the middle of talking. I know for a fact my husband's triggered by disrespect and he's triggered by being interrupted. Because in his mind, if you're interrupting him, then you are not listening. You don't know what he's talking about. So how are you defending something if you didn't even let me finish because you don't know what I'm about to say? You don't know what I'm talking about. So again, I know that. So now it behooves me, advantageous to me, to just let him finish. Then if I have something to say, and sometimes I'll be like, may I say something in between? Or if he says something, then I have to stop him and be like, hey, I didn't understand what that meant. And then now he can go back to that and say, okay, so what I meant was A, B, C, and D. It is all about coming to a resolution, people. It is all about knowing yourself, mental acuity, emotional stamina, just the things that we do so much for ourselves, like we in the mirror and we doing our hair and my hair need to be washed. Wow, that's crazy. We in our makeup, we got our lashes on, we looking, we wearing waist trainers, we getting snatched, we getting out the bath, we putting body butter on, we lotioning our feet, and men are at the barbershop every 2 weeks and they getting lineups and fake beards and blackouts and stuff on the pillow, all this stuff, and they at the gym, they getting all buff. But what are we doing on the inside that's going to line up with what the outside is doing? We all are presenting ourselves as wonderful packages physically. But are you a wonderful package emotionally and mentally? Now, that's the real question, y'all. So I'm not going to hold y'all tonight. That's all I wanted to talk about today. It was on my heart to talk about. I had a couple clients call me actually wanting me to coach them. And I have no problem coaching people. I have no problem doing that. But I also feel like generic information works for the masses as well. So having said that, I'm about to head out because I got to go to dinner and grab my son. And I love y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day. If I'm not back up here alone, have a wonderful holiday. I will say this before I get to the end. Um, Myself, Tanisha Dawson, my sister Tiffany Daniels, our friends Tiana Rogers Brown and Isis Elliott, also known online as God is Free. We will be doing a podcast next Thursday at 6:30. It will be live and it'll be called Wives Talk. So we're going to be doing that once a month as a treat for you guys. We're all married, all different men, all different kinds of marriages and working moms, stay home moms, working from home moms, working outside the home moms, and just how we balance life as wives, mothers, business women, and things like that. So I hope, you guys will tune in for that. But thank you so much for watching and have an amazing night. Bye.